Hey everyone, Captain Amazing here, and today we have a lot to talk about. So, I'm not going to go over every part of these new updates. I just want to give my insights on what I think of it overall. So, let's jump into it. The first thing I'm going to do is, I'm going to reiterate. I'm not going to read this to you. I've already read it. I've watched a few videos, seen what the community has overall felt towards it. And I did want to kind of ruminate on my feelings, what I think about this. I went on a run. In the past, I will say that I was overly negative towards change that ended up being a positive for the community. So I wasn't too thrilled about past changes like taking the crystals out of Squad Arena and putting them uh, into what we now have as a Grand Arena. I don't I didn't like the raid changes initially. I think they did kind of bungle the first release of it, and kind of every new major change that CG has have. I've generally felt unhappy about it because my first intuition is that they're trying to generate more income, which kind of ruins the free to play the free to play experience. And I think this game has a wonderful free to play experience that allows a wide breadth of players. And if there wasn't a good free to play experience, then there wouldn't be enough players for whales and krakens and all that to play against. So I do think it's very important that CG recognizes that the free to play is very important. And they did say like this was a free to play change, and they're looking out for free to play players. I don't think they're being genuine about that. I do think their overall goal with these changes is to double down on their investment in this game to generate more income. With the loss of Lord of the Rings and that IP that they were expecting to kind of expand on their mobile gaming, uh, they lost that. So what they're doing now is they're doubling down and revitalizing this game. And the problem is they're trying to do that by making the average player a spender in ways that kind of force us to purchase pretty much like the passes to have a good amount of progress that it feels necessary. And I feel like a $20 a month pass for me is fine. I don't mind it, but I don't want that to be the norm. And I haven't seen what it's like for free to play players now or how the changes are. But I am really hesitant towards feeling like this is a positive change for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes players. And I'm going to go in detail why I feel that. And so the first thing I want to say as far as the good things about this update, and there's not a lot, but like this is what I felt was good overall, is we can sim events. And while I am a little hesitant towards saying that's a good thing, and I'll go more in depth in that later, but they are allowing us to sim events that previously we have been asking for a long time, that I felt should have been simmable a while ago. Also, the CG, like I stated before, CG's double downing on this game, and that means a good thing. Like when a game publisher doubles down, revitalizes their game, changes the UI, adds more content, that's great. But there's a lot of bad things in here that I want to point out first, as well, because that's pretty much all I have that's good in this. All right, so the bad is, I think this is a new tier of power as far as with GL Ahsoka. I do see her being kind of what in the past Jedi Knight Revan was, or SOKR and Rey, or the Executor, or Leviathan. It's a new tier of power. So I feel like in a few years we can look back at this and be like, there was a definitive change in power creep, and that first started with GL Ahsoka is what I think, and I will go in more detail why I think moving forward that's going to be the case, and it's not just because of how expensive she is and just how broken her other versions are. I do think there's signs here, and if you read in between the lines of what CG is saying, of why this is going to be now a vertical progression model compared to horizontal progression. And the difference between the two is vertical progression is more of like that MMO experience where the longer the game exists, they completely make older content irrelevant compared to new content. And that happens mostly with MMOs, with expansions or other games. Like as soon as a new expansion comes out, everything in the game prior to that loses all worth, and then you kind of have to farm the new stuff, and that's just the way it is. And I think that's where this game is going for a few different reasons. So if you look at the changes that they're doing with fleets, taking off all the off meta counters, making sure that the Leviathan is untouchable except for like mirrors or multi-shot wins is important, and they're trying to shore up and create that precedent that the latest and greatest is going to be the best, and the way to beat it is whatever the next thing is, where prior to that everything that has come out in this game has had an off meta counter, including these bespoke datacrons. And that's just another form of this vertical progression where we're seeing the power creep start to exceed what off meta counters can handle. And we do have a lot of ways of cheesing things, but we're seeing it now in fleets that it's a horrible meta. There's not a lot of off meta counters. They've purposely cut off a lot of these off meta counters, and it's showing that CG is moving towards that model where the latest and greatest is just the best thing, and you're either going to have to mirror it or you put it on defense and you hope and your opponent pretty much can't beat it unless they bring that same thing on offense, and even then it's not a guarantee. So what this is showing is if you invest money on the latest thing, then you're going to buy power. And usually it's like that has been true in the past. I think they're taking this to a whole other level, and I could see that moving forward, that vertical progression. Not only that, but they're removing resources with these as you can see with assault battles. So what they're doing is they're removing older assault battles that we have already received resources for and expect towards our daily income and monthly income, and they're moving it towards new things that we have to farm, and they're creating the threshold a lot higher of what is expected to get a good return of investment for that. So they did that with raids, they're doing that with galactic challenges, and now they're doing it again with assault battles. So it's showing everything that they're pointing towards is defunding everything that has been important to us in the past and putting that much more importance on the new things. And even Lightspeed bundles shows what they're doing with that. They're trying to sell us these things that they feel are no longer generating income, getting one last ditch effort towards getting income for that, and then moving on and moving all the future resources and power towards new things so that we can spend money on that. Because there's 3 ways that they generate income from new characters, and if they don't hit one of these 3 wickets, then the amount of investment or amount of people who are going to purchase to buy them is not going to be high. And one of those 3 ways are either power, they are the strongest thing, or they're S tier and are pretty much required to be competitive. 2, resources. So either you need them to get more resources in the game, or three, nostalgia. And that means since this is a Star Wars IP, it's a character or some sort of team that is very popular in the Star Wars community, and people will farm it because they just love that character. So if it doesn't hit one of those three wickets, then people aren't going to purchase it. And if you notice, GL Ahsoka probably hits all three of those wickets. So there's a lot of nostalgia around Snips. A lot of people love Clone Wars. A lot of people love Ahsoka, and they're just going to go all in on Ahsoka because they love that character. Next, resources. So her requirements have the new assault battle for the Peridia Imperial Remnant team, and so if you farm her requirements, then you're going to get access to that assault battle, and getting access to those three marquees pushes you that much closer towards her. And then third, power. I guarantee you she's going to be an absolutely ridiculous banger of a GL. So she's probably going to be a tier above anything else we've seen, and it's just going to be a tier above probably what any of these other past GLs are. So I do think unless they're hitting one of those three wickets, then people are not going to put their money to purchase it. So that's what they're moving towards. That's what I think a big part of this is to push us towards farming new things. And I do want to talk about, and I haven't seen much traction around this, and that's their marquee releasal. So I don't know exactly what the precedent before was on marquees, but this is a lot of characters, and they're committing towards this. So every pretty much 3 months, they're going to be releasing 6 marquees and 3 different journeys. That's a lot of characters that they're releasing for. So what that means to me is that they're going to have to find a way to make all these profitable for them. So what of those wickets are they going to hit that they are going to sell them? Are they going to be the strongest as far as power? And then that means power creep is going to move a lot quicker than what it is, and it's going to make our past farms not as important because they're not going to be as strong compared to new content, which is kind of like that Marvel Strike Force kind of financial incentive of, okay, you need to farm the latest and greatest because that's the strongest thing out there. Next, resources. They're already showing us that they're willing to remove the resources from past events and move them towards these new characters. They've already started doing it with assault battles. They started doing it with galactic challenges by literally paywalling them, and then putting these marquees to be able to even get the feats, which is we'll talk about that later, but I don't agree with that whatsoever, regardless of how the rewards are. And then how can they produce these many contents and make it nostalgic for us? I don't, maybe once in a while we'll have a character here that everyone's like, hey, I gotta farm this, I love that character, I just want to get it because of the relation it has to how I feel about Star Wars. But they're already moving our resources towards these new characters, and that means the vast majority of these are going to be power buys, which means power creep is going to be a lot higher. And I hate to see that, because part of why I love this game is you always feel like you're improving your account with what you farm. If you farm like CLS or some other like assault battle team like Imperial Troopers or Wampa or Hoda or Jedi Knight Luke, you feel like you're improving your account regardless of how old those farms are, because they're still good, they're still viable. But if they keep up with this power creep, because there's only so many spots in Grand Arena, there's only so many spots in TW, there's going to be no places to use these old characters. So we're going to have relic characters just sitting on the bench who used to be usable characters, because they're going to be pushing out so much new characters and content that we have to move towards these new characters. You have to spend money to keep up with this level of content that they're creating. And I hate to see it, because I love horizontal progression games, and I'm really not a big fan of vertical ones, because makes you feel like you're, if you take a break and you come back, you're starting from square one. Or if you invest in past things, you're wasting your time because you have to invest in the latest and greatest. I just don't think it's a great it's a great um, type of gameplay for this type of gotcha game. And I feel like if you're wanted to do that, you might as well just play Marvel Strike Force compared to this game. And it's just not free to play friendly. Another great reason was I felt like as a late game player and a mid game player that I was able to catch up to end game or at least compete with them because I could skip some new farms, I could farm some old farms, and I could farm some new things, and a mixture of that and catch up to end game with smart spending that allowed me to farm things that gave me more resources and allowed me to progress faster than what they released these characters as, so I could eventually catch up if I continue to play. I feel like if they move towards this new type of gameplay with this scheduling of character releases, I'm never going to catch up to endgame, and I will always be gated against whales who have the latest and greatest through power creep, and I'm not going to be able to compete is how I feel. And even though as a content creator could spend a lot of money, I could invest to be a top tier player or end game player because some of it is subsidized. I don't feel like that's a good gameplay, and I don't. My morals don't allow me to do that because I don't believe in supporting a gameplay style like that, and that's why a lot of these older games that have styles like that, I just haven't played it, and that's how I feel overall with what they're doing. So I feel like they're widening the gap between Krakens and whales, whales and dolphins to like Lightspeed players and Lightspeed bundle players towards the free to play. I feel like it's just creating more of that gap that we're feeling even with the squish right now, and I do feel like people are already unhappy, and if they continue down this road, that unhappiness is just going to continue to widen, and players may stop playing this game because it becomes unsatisfying. Already with this galactic challenge, with these galactic challenge changes, I feel like we're losing an important part of this game, which is the theory craft. Like, I actually enjoyed galactic challenges. It allowed me to use my whole roster most of the time. It allowed me to theory craft. It allowed me to try to find unique ways to hit all those feats. And now that's literally taken away. I don't care if they feel like the rewards are comparable. What they're doing is removing engaging gameplay from me and paywalling it. And that feels horrible. I don't like that. I don't want to spend $20 and beat the highest tier and finish the feat. That doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel like I accomplished anything. It feels like I literally just paid for some crappy reward. So I don't want that. I want gameplay that is challenging, allows me to theory craft, that allows me to use my entire roster. I want to engage in this game in a way that's not farm the latest thing, spend hundreds of dollars on these marquee characters so that you can get these rewards that are paywalled. I don't like that type of gameplay. It's not what I played this game for. It's not what I enjoy. I'm honestly not looking forward to what is happening here and how it's going to go. And again, I'll say that I was wrong in the past. I did not like the raid changes when they first came out, and lo and behold, they are great. So I'm still waiting to see how this will turn out overall. But my feeling is this is their way to squeeze more money out of the average player so that they can increase power to make us pay more for these marquees to get passes that generate income from the average player, and they remove pass rewards and push those towards new characters that are constantly cycled through, so that we have to continually chase those rewards, is what I feel like they're doing here. And they're doing it with the veneer that it's free to play friendly, because this pass has the equitable awards to what it was prior. And I don't think that's a fair assessment of what's happening here. So let me know what you guys think overall about this. Am I wrong? Am I being too negative? Am I being too harsh? Let me know what you guys think. That's my take of what's happening here. I'm honestly not very happy with it. I'm not happy with these changes. I'm still going to wait and see overall what the type of gameplay that we will get, if they're going to give us new content that's actually engaging and fun, that replaces the gameplay that they removed that was more repetitive. If that's changes, that I would be all for it. But right now, all I'm seeing is a way to generate more income from the average player, with the veneer that it's going to help the free to play, which I don't think it will, because although they may increase the overall stuff we get, if they increase the level of marquees that we get and the requirements and the rewards that are paywall behind it, then that's going to create a huger gap between those whales and krakens and all that stuff. And it's going to make it harder for free to play players to catch up and to remain competitive, if everything that is new is just tiers better than the old stuff. And I could definitely see something like that happening. So that's just my 2 cents. Again, let me know what you guys think. Yeah, other than that, I'll see you all next time. Take care.